Thank you. All right, we're going to move the program right along. Our next speaker is Dr. Babak Vosooghi. He's a Barrister and Solicitor from Vosooghi Law. Dr. Vosooghi will be providing us with valuable insights on corporate law and governance, a critical element for startups seeking partnerships and joint ventures. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Vosooghi to the stage.
Hello everyone, thank you for this opportunity. I dearly thank Sire for this gathering and summit. I also thank Stuart for the insights. I will use that AI recommendation. Yeah, honestly, it's a bummer sometimes. Your actual hours are limited. AI can be an aid. When I first was offered this opportunity for this presentation, I thought to myself, wait a minute, group of scientists, tech guys, I don't know, business consultants and experts, what am I doing there? And then I thought to myself, here's the catch. Every business, so all of you guys are always kind of obsessed with how to grow a business and prevent it from failing. But there's another story to every business. What if things go south and something happens, God forbid, court proceedings are involved, what if disputes are involved? That is something that usually business consultants do not think about, or usually they're not involved, honestly. However, I draw laws of Canada, so this doesn't cover other provinces. That's a sort of disclaimer. The second disclaimer is that none of these are supposed to be legal advice. If you have, God forbid, any legal problems, or if you have any legal questions, you better seek one from one of my peers. So, business structures in Canada and Ontario, we have sole proprietorship, partnership, and corporations. So when you want to go sole, it's just a very simple decision. Open up your shop, open up your business, put a name on it or don't, doesn't matter. So from the eyes of CRA, you are now a businessman, a business person. So you have to take care of that factor in your taxes, that you're not an employee anymore, you're self-employed or a business entity. But there's a but to it. If you want to go sole, the main thing will be that you're liable for all the debts and legal problems that may accrue. That is the main thing. But you don't have any partners, the good sides. You don't have to get involved into legal implications. If you want to have a partner, there are other two options. One is to have a partnership, which is so they can enter into a contract, they can be held liable, and the owners are not necessarily liable or on the hook for the problems and the legal debts. We will focus on corporations. I had slides for partnerships, but I removed them because I want to focus on corporations, because as I can see nowadays, all people incorporate their businesses to get better tax rates and at the same time some sort of protection against the creditors. Okay, types of corporations, we have public and private. So as Stuart was saying, going public. That means public means a corporation that its shares are offered to all the members of the society. Everyone can buy shares in that corporation and become an owner or a shareholder. That's a public corporation. So you can go to stock market and purchase the shares of, I don't know, Google. So Google is a public corporation in terms of how it's owned, okay? And then we have private corporations. So it's the opposite. The shares are not offered to the public. It's held among a certain amount of people, a certain number of people who own the shares, and they can sell it to third parties or they cannot. It's among them to decide. You also have meaning of corporation here. As I said, independent legal capacity, can do any kind of business. A question that I often get asked is, what types of business should I put in the articles of incorporation? You don't have to. A corporation, by definition, in Canada, I know maybe it's different in other jurisdictions, but in Canada, Ontario, and all other provinces, a corporation can engage in any kind of business activity. Importation, production, manufacturing, services, sales, retail, wholesale. So there's no limit in the law. So you don't have to put any limits in your articles as long as you wish to have it open. Some may prefer to exclude certain activities, which we don't usually recommend. However, the golden rule is that you can engage, your corporation can engage in any sort of business activities. I remember a professor in our university used to say, a corporation can do anything but to marry and get children. Yeah, that is it. Assets of the corporation belong to itself. That's a very important and fine rule that we need to observe. I've seen people kind of mixing their assets with their corporations, and then at the end, when they're audited by CRA, they get into troubles because CRA needs to have that defined rule between your own assets, your personal assets, and the corporate assets. So yeah, the corporation owns its own assets. And next is, thanks for this beep. Keeps telling me that I'm alive somehow. Yeah, feels like being in a hospital and still breathing. Yeah. No liability for shareholders. So one thing that usually people mix up is that when your corporation is going bankrupt or it owes anything, any debts to others, you may run into troubles. No, it's quite vice versa. If, God forbid, your corporation is sued or runs into any legal troubles or has any debts to third parties, your corporation owes the debts, not you. So as a shareholder, you're quite protected by the rule that your corporation is a separate legal entity. All right, so don't panic. There are protections available. Whenever you as a shareholder see that your corporation is in debt, you can rest assured that you won't be liable. Your personal assets are safe. That and then separate taxes from its shareholders. Very, very easy and understandable. If a corporation owes taxes to CRA, they won't be coming after you as a shareholder, but don't rest very assured. They may come after you as a director. Yeah, the CRA has its own sets of rules. Let's move on. Yeah, of course, this is not a case when the person is the single owner and the single director, like the sole shareholder and sole director. There's no problem here. But if they're like other shareholders, any personal dealing with oneself could be problematic, because when you're making a financial transaction, you're supposed to prioritize your personal gains. And when you're dealing with somebody to whom you owe fiduciary duties, there could be problems because there's a conflict of interest. So when there is a conflict of interest, the person should stop that transaction and tell the others that, hey, there is this situation. What am I supposed to do? So fiduciary duty is a very, very important aspect as an insider, and then he can use those confidential information and client's name and everything outside for his own gain. Again, this is problematic. So as a director, a person is supposed to abstain from competing with the business of the corporation. That's embedded into the laws of Canada and Ontario and other provinces as far as I know. Okay, what powers do the shareholders have? So let's say corporation is a mini country. when we get to corporate governance, I'll delve into that. But in terms of running or controlling the business, managers or directors are runners. They run the business, they decide. The shareholders can go to the court and start that action even though that shareholder is not a director. That's a very important feature again. If a shareholder can convince the court that for this and that reason, this lawsuit must be commenced, and the directors are refusing to do so, the court accepts and lets the shareholder, not the director, the shareholder to start that action. There's also the oppression or oppressive remedy action. If a shareholder finds the decisions and actions of the directors oppressive, which has its own legal term or definition, then they can sue the corporation